You say in the book that there's nothing about the RCMP to be proud of. Why is
I
that?
mean, I- it feels, from this side of writing the book, it feels like such an obvious question. I mean, we could even just take the last few decades of the RCMP's existence and all of the scandals and really horrendous stuff and be like, why would we be proud of an organization like that? Why would we continue to give money to an organization like that? Pick your scandals, the sexual violence scandals, the internal scandals that they've been having with respect to misogyny, whatever it is. Then you go back to the history of their creation. And of course, like I said, this policing in its modern form comes from what was created in Ireland and was trained by those folks and was instrumental in establishing the Northwest Mounted Police in Canada, which is the precursor to the RCMP. And what were they really tasked with? Well, they're tasked with controlling the Indigenous population and making sure that they could not just control, but remove the Indigenous population from their lands in order for colonizers to have a successful colonization of this place called Canada.
Yeah, you talk about their killing of thousands of sled dogs and also the role that they played on the prairies.
Yeah, it's really quite horrific if you think about the amount of violence that is inherent to policing, its history, but also its present. And it makes sense when you think about it, doesn't it? The tools of policing are just wielding violence. They are one of the only legitimate uses of violence, quote unquote, legitimate uses of violence that our government permits. And they are able to use violence to carry out whatever it is that the government is seeking. And so you get the RCMP of the past committing these atrocious acts that have a really horrendous effect on the ability for Indigenous people to live out their lives. And for example, land back fights that are happening in places like Wet'suwet'en and the ways that the police have operated to use violence and to try to hide what they're doing from the public, not using those communications arms to transparently communicate with journalists, but actually to try to hide what they're doing and present themselves as blameless while they are actively harming people in completely undemocratic ways.